Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Alyn, along with the insane Daryl Wayne, or the inseral Daryl Wayne, whichever.
The insalad Daryl Wayne.
Yeah, the salad. Maybe you'll make a salad when you're on the cooking show in a couple
Maybe
weeks.
Not.
Anyway,
maybe not.
We're being a little silly. We're going to go to Detroit, Michigan. We're going to speak with Dr. Steve Babson. He is the author of Forgotten Populists: When Farmers Turned Left to Save Democracy. Dr. Babson, welcome to Late Night Health. Is the country in turmoil, in trouble right now, today, in 2024?
Well, I think so, very much so. By the way, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Part of what I was interested in exploring was the ways in which the history of the populist movement, the first populist movement, the Forgotten Populists of the 1890s, is echoing today in the circumstances we face, with tremendous inequality and injustice prevailing on a lot of different fronts, including the farm population. Very different farm population from back in the day. Back in the 1890s, about 45% of all occupied working people were farmers or farm laborers. Today, that's below 2% of the labor force. But those farmers today are in a really desperate state. Many of them, the remaining small-scale family farmers among them, are suffering economically and mentally, and in terms of their health. They have a suicide rate that is 3 to 4 times higher than the general population. And interestingly enough, it's for some of the same reasons that prevailed in the 1890s.
Can you give us a definition of the populist movement?
Sure. The way I describe it is that the original populists were calling for change in the 1890s. When farmers and railroad workers, coal miners, and a wide range of reformers launched a new movement that actually would change the political terrain of the country. And but they called themselves, kind of as a shorthand, as a nickname, they called themselves populists. And what they were angry about was that both the Democrats and the Republicans, the two dominant parties at that time, were favoring the rising class of corporate robber barons who'd come to power in the years after the end of the Civil War. The Civil War ends in 1865, and over the following 3 decades, the economics of the United States is transformed by the rise of these massive corporations, particularly in railroading, but also steel and farm equipment. And those basically monopolies, in many cases, where just a few companies secretly shared their dominance of the market, was maintained by violence, often enough, bribery, and their monopoly power, which they used to crush opponents of big business. And so this is what the populists were about. They were saying we have to restore democracy. We have to fight for a widening of democratic rights so that we can counter the power of big business.
When I'm thinking of farmers, where Daryl and I live, one of the biggest industries are farms. And they are, most of them, I think, are small, are family farms. I can think of one in particular, Underwood Farms. They were the first to do bicolored corn. And there's a lot of growing in Ventura County, where we're based, just outside of Los Angeles. But my understanding is that ConAgra and other big corporations, they control farming today.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate transformation in the business. It means that while we still are buying milk with that lovely picture of a silo and a nice farm on the front, farmers increasingly are now subordinated to and on a very tight choke collar to the major agribusiness corporations that dominate the industry. I'll give you just a couple examples, and that would be pork and chicken. If you are a pork farmer, you're no longer seeking buyers who will give you the best price for the pigs you bring to market. You're more likely going to be working as a contractor for Smithfield or Tyson Foods, and they keep you on a very short choke collar. They determine how many pigs or chickens you'll be raising, what price you'll get for them, what you have to feed them, and then also demand that you invest in and that you borrow and personally become liable for the debt for expanding your business in strict conformity to what they lay down. And that means that basically you have one customer, Tyson or Smithfield, depending on the product and the corporation you're related to. You no longer are in a market relationship. You are in a tight, subordinated relationship to that agribusiness corporation. And they determine how much money you're going to make, what your volume of business is going to be, and then they burden you with debt so that you can't escape that relationship without being crushed by the debt you took on to meet their demands. So this is a situation that a lot of farmers are finding extraordinarily stressful, along with the other issues of debt and climate change and matters that are in some respect beyond their control, particularly climate change. Although not entirely. Politically, there are ways of addressing climate change, but they require that we get
some
going
people
on that sooner than later.
I'll be the first to jump in. A former president doesn't believe that there is climate change, even though the scientists have proven it. It's scary to me, for my kids and my family, that some people don't believe there is climate change. But I wanted to ask you about I don't know, genetically modified seeds, for example, planted by farmers. You're not supposed to. I've seen packages, and it says on the package, "Do not touch with your hands." Any thoughts on GMOs?
Well, it's again a different form of the same dynamic where you become dependent on the corporation that is supplying you not only with the seed, but also stipulating how you use it, where you use it, and how you go about the business of growing crops. It's not unlike also, by the way, as you might be aware, the right to repair is an issue which many farmers are pushing for, where they want the ability to be able to actually repair their own equipment, but actually the stipulation of the seller of that equipment is that you can't touch it. You have to take it to the dealer to get it repaired. So here again, another way in which, whether it's GMOs or this now increasingly expensive and sophisticated equipment for which farmers are not prepared to be able to maintain on their own and are not permitted to learn how to do so, it's the same dynamic. And it's, by the way, a dynamic not unlike what was prevailing in the 1890s, when farmers were losing control of what they were hoping and looking forward to, and that is access to global markets through railroads. But the railroads were monopolies in their own right that were basically gouging the farmers with extraordinarily high freight rates whenever they could get away with it. That was the kind of monopoly that farmers faced back then.
Steve, as a historian, because that's how you have to pigeonhole people. I've pigeonholed you. As a historian, do we need to look back to the 1890s and say, oops, big mistake, we got to change what we're doing? Because you've already said several times now that we're doing the same thing that happened almost over 100 years ago.
Right. And by the way, I'm happy to be pigeonholed as a historian. I'm proud of it. And I think you're right that if we don't go back and look at our history, we won't understand how we arrived at the circumstance we're at now. And actually, also, that history can be helpful in terms of giving us a wider sense of the possibilities that are in front of us. So farmers back then, instead of accepting the dominance of the corporate bosses who dominated both parties, they began a grassroots campaign, first through the Farmers Alliance and the Knights of Labor, but eventually coalescing into a political movement that said, we need to expand democratic rights. So the populists wanted to regulate railroads, and if the railroads didn't comply, they wanted publicly owned railroads that would actually serve the people who were subsidizing those railroads. They wanted a wide range of reforms that would actually expand the ability of people to control their fate economically, including, by the way, expanding voting rights.
Which we're going to talk about when we come back. We're going to take some time out. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion with Dr. Steve Babson. The book is called Forgotten Populists: When Farmers Turned Left to Save Democracy. I'm Mark Alyn, along with the insane Daryl Wayne. Don't go away. More coming up as Late Night Health continues. Late Night Health is proud of our partnership with the EBC, the Evolutionary Business Council. Check them out at ebcouncil.com.
You're listening to Late Night Health with Mark Alyn. The show continues in a moment.
Recently, I met Jacqueline from Bright here in Los Angeles. She gave me a hearing exam and then showed me how to hear again with the new Signia Pure Series hearing aids, and she can give you your life back too. I hear birds chirping, birds cooing, and even my wife. They easily connect to my smartphone. The Signia hearing aids are amazing, and with the charge and go, I don't have to fiddle with batteries and hear all day long. Not hearing is frustrating for you and your family. I know you don't have a problem, but trust me, call Bright Here now for a free hearing exam, a $125 value, yours free, just for making an appointment now. There are offices throughout the Los Angeles area. Call Bright Here now at 323-424-7100. That's 323-424-7100 for a free hearing exam. There's no obligation. Call now, 323-424-7100, or visit them on the web at brighthere.com.
If you're listening to Late Night Health right now, you're part of the growing target of baby boomers we're serving. Hi, I'm Daryl Wayne, producer of Late Night Health, inviting you to join the Late Night Health family. If you have any business targeting the growing boomer market, Late Night Health is the ideal advertising vehicle for you. From vitamins to insurance, alternative health to Western-style medicine, Late Night Health caters to the growing population of those over 40 years old. This vibrant demographic has expendable income to fight aging, purchase travel, take care of aging parents, or just have fun. Find out about the advertising opportunities with Late Night Health. Call us at 805-391-0308. That's 805-391-0308, or email us at info@latenighthealth.com. That's info@latenighthealth.com. Join Late Night Health as we empower people to take charge of their own health care. Call now at 805-391-0308. That's 805-391-0308.
Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Words are a critical aspect of success. How you get your point across is a crucial part of what makes anything sell. So do it right and hire a writer. Whether it's articles, blog posts, technical writings, website content, product descriptions, or ghostwriting anything from a novel to a nonfiction book about your navel, contact Servet Hassan. If you want it to sell, write it right. Email Servet at servet@servethassan.com.
It's time to tackle a tough topic, one that affects us all. We're talking about sexism in the workplace. The award-winning Identifying the Elephant in the Room series is back and ready to tackle some complicated communications issues again. This spring, we're focusing on critical communication strategies in the face of sexism. Join us as we hear from professionals in the natural products industry who have valuable career lessons to share and real-world experience to discuss from all sides of the elephant. It's time to have an honest and open conversation about the impact of sexism in the workplace and how we can make it better for everyone. Identifying the Elephant in the Room series starts March 16th. Register today at inicibox.vfairs.com. That's INICIBOX.VFAIRS.com and join the conversation to be part of the solution. Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Alyn, along with the insane Daryl Wayne. We have a fascinating topic. Dr. Steve Babson is our guest, and the name of the book is Forgotten Populists: When Farmers Turned Left to Save Democracy. Two questions regarding the title of the book. And the first is the second part. What do you mean when farmers turned left? You mean politically left?
I mean, politically left, yeah. That in the way we would define it today, the terms were not in use in the way they are now, but I'm addressing obviously a contemporary audience, and this would be steps taken that would be traditionally identified with a progressive movement, meaning an expansion of democracy. They wanted, for example, votes for women. I mean, people have to recall that at this time, the Constitution
it was the right to vote. It was more than 30 years later.
Correct. And well, yeah, right. And likewise, voting rights for African Americans in the South, which the populists favored. They wanted an alliance of black and white farmers to turn around and contest the power not only of the railroads, but also of the cotton merchants and also of the bankers and lenders and plantation owners who were systematically screwing over both black and white farmers. They were paying, often enough, small farmers in the South at this time were paying interest rates on the debt they had to take on, because after all, you're selling cotton. You only get money once a year. And so they had to borrow money to get vital supplies, and they were paying interest of 40 to 100% to merchants and lenders on that basis. And so the populists wanted to expand the money supply to make credit more affordable. They wanted to regulate the railroads to make freight rates more affordable so you could ship your crops to market and participate in that global market, those opportunities. They wanted wider access to an industrial system that was democratized by expanding voting rights, protecting the African American voting rights in the South, expanding voting rights to women. By the way, electing senators. At that time, senators were appointed by state legislatures, and the state legislatures were subject to all kind of backroom wheeling and dealing, bought and sold votes. And so populists said, no, we should elect directly U.S. senators. So it was an expansion of democratic rights and therefore a government more able to respond to the needs of the people and regulate big business, the robber barons, accordingly.
It would seem to me that we have a lot of the same situations going on today. Not 100% interest, but close to 40. And
that's
right. And why, after over almost 200 years since the Civil War, 1865? Yeah, I mean it's just my math is not right, but it's over 150 years. It doesn't make sense to me why we still need to have voting rights. It should just be blanket, period. End of story.
Well, there are some people who would prefer to actually restrict voting rights. If you're fearful that a democratically mobilized majority would actually seek regulations and controls on big business, would, for example, turn around and actually tax the extraordinarily obscene wealth of the mega rich in this country right now, as the populists did. The populists advocated a graduated income tax, where taxes would be lower on wage-earning people and farmers and higher for the mega rich who were making just extraordinary amounts of money. I'll give you one example. Back in the 1890s, when wages were about 50 cents to $4 a day, Jay Gould, who owned 12 railroads, was making $25,000 a day, which would be in today's money about $850,000 a day. And now Elon Musk and a whole range of folks, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, they're making that kind of money, extraordinary amounts of money, out of all proportion to their actual contribution to the economy. And so history echoes, and we need to be talking about a Democratic Party that will try to actually turn that around.
Would you classify yourself as a capitalist?
No, I would not.
You're not? Okay.
No.
You want to give more power to the government. I'm a capitalist. I think that we should be able to make money. But when somebody like an Elon Musk, I saw something on Twitter the other day that doesn't belong there. It was inaccurate. It was wrong. It was anti-people, and yet it stays up there. Government needs to do something about that, I think.
And actually what the populists were about, they wanted small-scale, honest entrepreneurs to have equal access to the market. And for the populist movement, their favored form of relationship to the market was co-ops. In other words, farmer co-ops, worker co-ops, where they would own the shoe manufacturing company or the small business, whatever it might be. And they wanted to preserve that and protect private access to the market. But that private access would take a collective form through cooperative ownership, farmers getting together and bulking their crop, whether it was milk, whether it was cotton or wheat, and then they would have more market power to bargain with grain merchants and agribusinesses about the price they're going to get. So what the populists wanted was more access to the market, fair access to the market, not a market that was skewed in favor of the mega rich.
Other than you, are there other populists today?
I think so. I think I actually, when you talk about the issues that resonate with people today, a lot of them would see the ways in which they are, in a way, carrying on that tradition. It was, by the way, the tradition that produced the New Deal. A lot of those programs that were finally implemented in the 1930s to counter the massive collapse in the economy, a lot of that were populist programs that had been initially brought to the public in the 1890s by the populist movement, implemented by the New Deal. And I think we need a new Deal, actually, to address the issues we face today.
Where do you think we're going? Where do you think the country is going based on history?
Right now, I feel like it's the toss-up in the final quarter of a really closely fought battle, and it's going to depend on what happens this fall. I think if Trump is reelected, if he's elected to a second term after losing in 2020. We're in some serious shape here, and difficulties that'll be across the board in terms of voting rights, in terms of worker rights, in terms of farmer rights. He's going to favor the big business and the mega rich in ways that will be unprecedented, I think. And he will actually restrict democracy and act on, as he has said, I will be a dictator on day one. He then says he will otherwise not continue in that vein, but I believe he'll like it, and he'll want to do it on day 2 and 3 and thereafter.
And what do you think his chances are?
I think he has. He definitely has a chance. I mean, depending on the outcome and the course of the legal issues he faces for all of his various crimes. But if the Democrats can't galvanize a movement that people are looking for, and I think they can. I think that's a possibility. I think one of the issues that we face right now, though, is Palestine. And I'm very alarmed by the failure of the United States to actually act more decisively on behalf of protecting Palestinian people.
We're almost out of time. What also boggles my mind is that, 30-40% of those eligible to vote don't vote. Yeah. Steve, Dr. Babson, we're friends. Steve, the book is, I think it's well worth reading. Forgotten Populists: When Farmers Turned Left to Save Democracy, by Steve Babson. And I'm assuming you can find that wherever good books are sold, like Amazon.
That's right. You could go online, forgottenpopulist.com. There's also a short video there that I think people might find kind of compelling.
Got it. And that's forgottenpopulist.com. Well, we're out of time for this edition of Late Night Health. Daryl, as always, thank you for everything that you do for me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And thank you at home for tuning in, listening. Be sure to visit us at latenighthealth.com. That's latenighthealth.com. Have a great week, everybody. Have a good week. Most importantly, have a healthy week. Stay safe. Bye-bye for now.
That seeks actually the kinds of progressive changes